Peace, peace, peace. Imara Ifawuyi here. It's a beautiful morning here in Costa Rica, in the La Fortuna area. Um, so today I want to talk about here on So Sovereign, 6 moves you can make to raise your children outside of the matrix. So, what am I talking about here? When we talk about the matrix, we're talking about the mass media controlled machine, basically, that kind of has the minds of the masses of the people on the planet. So that includes, all of the kind of brainwashing attempts they make with all of these false flags, with all of the pandemics and the various things that they have used to manipulate the minds and grab the whole of the minds of the masses. Is considered the matrix, right? So there are, in my mind, right off the top, 6 things that you need to make sure you are doing in order to try to prevent your children from being taken and caught up in that. I am a single mother that decided years ago that I was going to minimally expose my children to the Western matrix. So not to say it's not everywhere, it doesn't have its clutches on the whole globe, but one thing I knew is that raising my children, particularly in the United States, was not going to be, really a thing for me. And they have lived there at times over the last years, but definitely is not the bulk of the time spent there. And I'm happy about it, just judging the seed by its fruit. You know what I mean? I've seen great development in my children that I know wouldn't have been there had I had them going to public school for instance, my daughter's 17. So the last 11, 12 years of her life in the public school system, I will not be seeing and having, I don't think, the child that I have now with the consciousness that she has and the kind of self-determined and the mind of her own that she has, to actually think, to reason, and to use discernment in her day-to-day life. It doesn't mean we agree on everything. It doesn't believe she believes everything I say about what's going on in the world, but at least she has some discernment, and sometimes I learn from her when I'm going too far or too extreme about certain ideas or conspiracies or whatever, right? So, number one, number one, first thing you need to do to get your children's minds under your own, molding, and not the media's molding and the outside world and all the people around them, is to prevent excessive media consumption. So when I say excessive media consumption, it's very hard to keep children off of the internet, especially if they have cell phones and stuff. But you want to be abreast, whether you're putting parental controls or whatever it is, you want to be abreast of what they're consuming. And as well, certain things for me are off limits. Like sometimes we'll have Netflix, but it just seems like every time I subscribe to Netflix, I see so much trash just in the mix. All of these messagings about, gender confusion and all these messagings about things that children are now supposed to be taking as being the norm and what's normal and wholesome. And it's just like, it's a whole agenda around these things. And so whenever I get Netflix, I see that. So we never end up keeping Netflix. So I would, if you really want to keep your children's minds, you know, kind of outside of being in the group think that is so prominent in the U.S. especially, and in the Western countries, I would limit completely Netflix and a lot of stuff really, but that's a big one to me. You be on Facebook and seeing everybody talking about all the Netflix series and stuff. All that stuff is trash. I mean, I can't even think of one that I've liked. And after all the years of being exposed, I would just keep that out altogether. Number two, in terms of, controlling things in your environment with your children, I would eliminate or make sure you don't bring any kind of game consoles into the space, because that's another tactic that they use to try to get your children's minds and get them in modes of being, killers and what they got, the car thief game, and they just put them in the mindsets of so many different things with these virtual realities. It's best to just keep that stuff out. That's something I never brought into the house. I didn't care if they might have felt drawn or might have wanted it. I did not bring that into the house. Now they do have tablets and different things like that, so sometimes they'll be exposed to little games, but it's nothing like the virtual reality and the video game, the consoles. I don't even know what the children use now. We don't deal with that, but I would just say keep that all the way out. Don't even bring them in there, because then you're going to be struggling with them and the addictions to those things, as well as the negative messaging that's coming through. Number three, in terms of things you can do to raise your children and keep their minds outside of the matrix mind, is I will watch the music they're consuming. I'm so grateful that my children are not drawn to trap music or anything like that, and that they know good music when they hear it. Because I mean, I'm a musical person. I like to sing. I dance. I'm into music. So I've always exposed them to a lot of older genres, funk, jazz. Even the hip hop when it was good back in the 90s, and just real music. So they've always been exposed to it. It doesn't mean that they listen to that in their free time and stuff, but they know good music when they hear it, and so it's not been a problem for me because I don't, and I like some trap stuff and everything. I mean, you can't deny the beats and this acumen and the ways that they do things on those tracks. But I try not to have them in the house and making that the lifestyle and the thing to have trap music playing. Instead, play some reggae, play something with a positive message. Keep a good vibe around your children in regards to music, so they'll automatically draw to clean, good music, because music is influential. It don't mean it's gonna make you go kill nobody, but it's influential. And over time, it's helping to shape. And what do you think's going on in the mainstream right now with all these killings of various musicians and rappers and all these beings that are being taken out? Look at the messages that they've been putting out. It's like, how long are you gonna be able to put that much negativity about women, about your community, about other brothers killing, trafficking, drugs? How much of that you gonna be able to put out and think there's not gonna be some kind of repercussions in general? Not to mention the spiritual darkness that they deal with. So it's like, at the end of the day, why would you want your children involved in any of that or exposed to it like that? I mean, my son is 10. He really does that. He couldn't even name a trap artist, I don't think. And he definitely don't want to hear a whole lot of violent cussing and negative lyricism, nor any really, really heavy, bass heavy, dark beats either. So he's sensitive. He knows how he feels when he hears that stuff and doesn't want it around him. And so I give thanks for that. So yeah, watch that. Watch the music they're taking in. Number four, it's really important when you're raising children that you want to have minds of their own and outside of the mainstream culture, that you feed them well. So you feed them foods, feed them holistically, feed them, give them herbs, alkaline herbs, whatever you want to call it. Give them herbs, give them food, have them accustomed to eating whole foods, plant-based food, even if y'all eat, meat and stuff like that, still plant-based foods, fruits, snacking on fruits, and keep them in a high vibration with the healthy eating, because what that does is allow them to perpetually be kind of cleansing off and releasing the toxic overload from the environment and the foods, and it also allows them to not be dealing with some of the manipulations of the food, the transgenic, all the uh, foods that people are eating, with the plastics and the toxins. You know what I mean? That you end up taking in when you're eating things like fast food and super processed food and stuff like that. And all those toxins affect the mind, and it affects the hormones, and affects the thyroid, and these things impact your endocrine system, which becomes a very big problem for the children. And so it's best to always make sure that the children are being blessed and given fresh whole foods as much as possible, so that they can be on their best, and so that they can keep their minds in a good space and place, so they can have discernment and know, what feels good for them, and just what is clearly off, so that's really important. Number five, please keep them children in nature as much as you can. I don't care where we are, whether we're living in the States or we living abroad. It's a rare occasion where I've got my children urbanized to the point where they can barely access the natural environment. I mean, you hear where we are now. We live in, just incredible nature. We live in a rainforest, basically. And I'm not saying you have to do all of that, but even in the States, just make sure you are able to get these children to the natural environment so that they can feel themselves in nature, connect with nature, become aware of the animals and the creatures and the lives and the bugs and all the things that are cohabitating on this planet with them, and really allow them to just feel at one with what they're a part of, and that's going to help because that nature is soothing. You know what I mean? Taking them to the natural waters, to the rivers, to the lakes, to the creeks, to the waterfalls, to the ocean. All these things. It gets them where anything that's outside of that is going to feel off for them. So anything that's too matrix, too artificial, too control, too manipulated is just gonna feel off for them. And so it gets them, prepared to walk in a life, always knowing when something is off, when it doesn't feel right, when it's not the thing to go towards. And so keeping them in nature is really important. Okay. And then number six, listen, number six is to cap off this. For me, as someone who's traveled a lot with children, and I know the ups and downs of that, you can watch my last video about that. There are, positive and not so great aspects of that. But if you can, and if you have it in your mind to do it, and it's something that you're drawn to do, making a long-term plan to manifest moving outside of some of these Western countries like the United States, like Europe, all these Western controlled countries, and just going somewhere where people are more simple and where the nature is simple and beautiful and people respect nature and they respect life. I highly suggest it. I mean, when we first got to Costa Rica, I've lived in a lot of places in the Caribbean, different things, but when we first got here, I wasn't in love with it because we were down in the city area. But when I came into real Tico living up north by the volcano, by the hot springs, by the rivers, and got to engage with these people and engage with this environment, I'm like, you can't beat it. You cannot be living somewhere where people are down to earth, they're natural, they're not brainwashed, doing everything based upon what the media told them. They listen to nature. They're not guided by outside controls and forces. And that's something that you'll find somewhere like Costa Rica. Like, you just cannot get around it. Yes, we deal with the media, we deal with the social media, we deal with YouTube and all the things. But at the end of the day, that's not the heart of everything we're doing. At the end of the day, we spend the bulk of our time going into the natural environment, absorbing, engaging with, and also and just being given thanks for not being in Atlanta or one of these cities that's posing as something that it really isn't. You know what I mean? Like any of these places, I done lived in all the cities: New York City, Atlanta, LA, and lived in the big major hubs of everything in America. And I would say I wouldn't trade what I'm doing right now for that, for nothing at all. There are some cities in the world where you do feel pretty good. Like we love Sao Paulo. We were just living in Brazil. We love Sao Paulo. It's a beautiful city. It has its green space, but it is definitely an urban area. But it's an urban area that feels good. So not all places are the same. But yeah, if you can get your children and just get them out, if you can do it, everybody can do it. You know what I mean? But that is my number six suggestion. So anyway, if you all have any questions, anything you need support with, or if you're interested in actually doing a consultation with me, I still have the Global Nomad Relocation consultations. I also consult about unschooling and radical learning and shifting with raising children in an alternative educational way. You can hit me up. You can email me, imaraifawuyi@gmail.com. I'll write it below. I don't have a website anymore, and I don't know when I'm going to get one. Follow me on Instagram. I don't even really know what my Instagram name is. Imara Ifawuyi. Follow me on Instagram. And yeah, follow me on Facebook, Imara Ifawuyi Dinkins. Also Global Nomad Travel or something like that. on is it my page on Facebook. So yeah, we got stuff. So yeah, follow us. We also got some tours and retreats we're gonna be putting together up here in Costa Rica because people keep asking. You know, it's like I wanted to do it when I came here, but because people know that I do that kind of stuff, and particularly from when I was doing it in Puerto Rico, they're asking for it because they're seeing, you know, we're back in this paradise again. So, and I can facilitate a lot of things. So if you come, just expect, you know, womb wellness and healing ceremonies, womb steaming ceremonies. We're also going to be doing things for the mothers, such as the traditional postpartum techniques and modalities that we're trained in. That includes the closing of the bones. That includes the hammam spa and the scrub, using the alkaline waters, you know what I mean, from the hot springs. And it includes a lot, you know, nature immersion, experiencing going out into, you know, the elements and experiencing that. So yeah, got some things coming up. I'm excited. Y'all have a blessed day. I'm wrapping this up. Please like and subscribe to the video. We gotta get this thing moving. So please do that for me and enjoy your day. Peace and love.